Hey there YouTube, this is SJM4306 and I'm back with another exciting episode of TeardownTube. So today I want to tear down something that is very near and dear to me. Um, I've been into mini disc players for quite a while. I got my first one, let's see, probably sometime around 2000 and I want to say 2002 or 2003 maybe. My first model was a gold MZN, what was it, the 7, no, the 5 something. I have one here. Yeah, so this guy, the 505 actually, sorry. This one is silver, but I had one in gold. It's no longer functional. I don't know why, but it does not work anymore. It doesn't turn on, doesn't do anything. But this is a replacement one that I got just for memory's sake. But anyway, this is a pretty good player. I have a couple of mini disc players. Sorry as I speak as I'm walking to and from the camera. But yeah, I've been collecting them. You know, some of them were pretty cheap for quite a while. Prices are starting to rise, obviously. But I want to show you one of the nicest ones I own, which is a higher end model, the MZ-R900. This is an MDLP player, and yeah, this is one of the types that use the gum stick batteries, so there's no battery bump on the back. It's pretty much one of the smallest players with the screen and everything. There are ones that came out later that are even smaller, and those use the remote LCD, so they don't have any onboard LCD or anything. But this one is pretty tiny, I'm not gonna lie, and I love it. This model came in silver, blue, and red. I have the red model here. I got it from like an estate sale or something. They were selling on eBay. And so from the description, it was untested, may or may not work, but assume that it doesn't work. And I got it for, I think, 20 bucks, which is really good seeing as working models of these go for easily over 100. And it came with the battery as well as the player itself. No discs were included, but I have plenty of those, so not an issue. This is a beautiful player. It's made out of aluminum front and back, and what I think is a plastic bezel here. We can go around what the controls are. I can show you turning on quickly there. So yeah, anyway, beautiful player. Has the physical record button, so this won't slide automatically. There's like a little red button that you have to push, and then it'll allow you to slide to record. This indicator lights up red when it's recording. You can change record mode, end search, volume, pause, stop or charge. If you press this when it's off and it's hooked up to the AC adapter, which is here, it'll start charging the internal battery. There's track mark. This multi-way button here, you can push it in for play or select, and then up or down for left or right, or track forward, track backwards. This guy, you press it in to enter the menu, or you can also use this to enter, and then up down to move, you know, through the menu system there. There's a single headphone jack output with the remote control connector, and this does it's software selectable between headphone and line out. There's a microphone plug, and that's a red guy here, and then the white one is a line-in that also does optical audio. So if you have a Toshlink to 3.5 millimeter adapter, you can actually plug this into like a component system or a CD player and transfer music digitally. On the top we have our eject button, which I love that definitive action. It feels very weighty. Everything is. And the actual button itself is metal, I believe. It feels like metal, or dense plastic maybe, and the disc will just automatically pop out. And you can see on the inside here, the laser itself. Let me see if I can, as I make it worse. There we go. So you can see the laser, you can see the kind of copperish colored coils on there, and the actual spindle itself, and not much inside other than that. So we can get guess just might as well leave the disc out. These are the discs for the format, and they are absolutely tiny. Let me put this back on autofocus. Yeah, so the original mini disc were 60 minutes long. Then they came out with 74 minutes and then 80 minutes, and these are the standard mini discs. They have high density ones, what they call high MD. Sony came out with towards the end of the life of the mini disc player. And so those are 1 gigabyte discs, and they could hold much more. Interesting thing is they've always kept backwards compatibility. So these MDLP player units can record in SP, which is standard mode, LP2, and then LP4, with the quality getting worse and worse the higher compression. So a standard disc can hold 80 minutes, LP2 could hold double that, and LP4 could hold 4 times that. That's the basic way that it worked. The later high MD units could actually compress the music more. So I believe the standard capacity of these discs is actually somewhere around 140 megabytes. The later units, using the same exact media, they could more efficiently store the data. So you could actually store, I think, up to 320 or something like that megabytes of data, somewhere around there. So it's very interesting. It's the same physical media, but just the way that the data is stored, maybe the track spacing was decreased, something like that. So it's fascinating the way that works. Yeah, one thing I've always loved, these look like miniature diskettes, like floppies, but they're rigid. I wouldn't sit on one, but and they have this little flap here, just like a floppy, that it'll only open when, let's see. Yeah, if I can get in here, you can, there's a little piece of plastic in here. You can actually push that in and then reveal the disc, though I wouldn't do so unless, you know, you're very careful. And this is a magneto-optical system. So what happens is the laser reads it normally, like a normal optical disc, but when you go to record, what happens is the laser will increase its output power to heat up a small spot on the disc. And then there's a magnetic arm that goes over the disc that'll actually write it much like a hard drive would, by changing the polarity of the magnetism at that specific spot that the laser heated it up. And it basically works off of something similar to like the Curie point, by heating the magnetized domain in order to allow it to flip, and then when it cools off, it gets stuck in that position essentially, or polarization. So yeah, very interesting technology. Sad to see that it's kind of gone the way of the dodo. Anyway, I've rambled on for about 7.5, almost 8 minutes. So let's open this guy up. So here's the battery door. Oh yeah, another interesting thing. As the battery falls out, hold switch, and it does synchronized recording as well. I've had to, my unit came kind of damaged, so I put a little piece of aluminum foil because this is all corroded away. So anyway, let's get on to opening it. So to open it, there's a little finger in here, and I have the service manual here that has a better picture of, let's see. You have to bend this little piece of metal here outward slightly in order to pull the actual lid itself out all the way. So once you do that, it comes right off. Interesting thing to note is most of the cheaper model mini disc players use just standard AA batteries, though they do accept rechargeable ones too that they can recharge. These units use this gum stick, which is pretty cute actually. It's a pretty small battery. This is a 1350 milliamp hour battery, and man, it is getting hot in here, so I have to turn on a fan. Sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah, basically once we remove that, all we have to do is remove all the screws. This might be a slightly longer video, just because I've rambled on for 10 minutes already, and this is interesting, so I want to fully take this apart to let you guys see all the internals, which means I'll need to take apart the front and the back of the unit itself. So these screws are absolutely tiny, so just be careful not to lose them. Let's see, yeah, 2 on the top as well. So it's pretty straightforward in the way it's put together. You will have to be very careful. I'm not going to show you guys me putting it back together, but there are little switches inside. Make sure that these external plastic switch switches, line up with the actual internal ones before you screw it back together, because if it's not in the right position and you put it back on, when you go to push the switch, you'll actually damage or possibly even break off the little plastic knob inside that actually contacts with the switch. Anyway, to open it up, these jacks are kind of embedded into the plastic. There's like a cutout, so you have to open it from the other side. So you want to make sure that the door's pushed in enough it's not going to catch, and then you can lift it off. Beautiful aluminum housing. Hey, I forgot to mention there are two metal contacts on the bottom and like a screw point for an external battery case where you can use full-size AA batteries, which have more capacity than, you know, these gumstick batteries. Or you can also double the battery life essentially by having that external battery plus the internal one. So interesting. So I'm not going to fully take this apart. I'm not going to remove these connectors because I've done that once and I had some trouble with the controls. Also, this bottom connector here is the read-write, the write head essentially. That's what is the magnetic head that writes the actual data when it's in write mode. So this is hard soldered to the board, so I'm not going to desolder that. But what I am going to do is drop the screwdriver initially and remove a couple of the screws here. They're pretty easily marked. Sony has a habit of putting little arrows, little cute arrows, yeah, where you should remove the screws, so that definitely makes my job easier. These screws are a different size than the ones on the external housing. Sorry about that. So you want to keep them separated. I wasn't intentionally trying to reference the offspring, but anyway. Keep them there, and I believe this one has to come out as well. So it looks like there's a grand total, and this screw is different length. Oops, as I almost lose it. The one, that goes in directly under the battery door connector is a different length. So you want to be careful. Everything's really fragile here. You're going to have to undo this guy. There we go. Going to have to undo this top connector here. Very carefully pull that out. Then the entire mid-frame assembly is going to swing up. And I'll show you the inside then. As best as I can, that is. Be very gentle. You don't want to break this little connector on the bottom here, because then you won't be able to write to any discs. You can still read discs, but you wouldn't be able to write to them. Yeah, this bezel's like really flimsy and thin, so you want to be careful of that. So yeah, here's the basic assembly. This cable that I removed is actually the cable that drives the laser sled, it looks like, as well as, or no, sorry, laser sled's down here. Yeah, actually all the motors are tied to this one cable, it looks like. So here we have a motor, the spindle motor, sorry about that, is here as a brushless motor. There's another brushless motor down here that drives the sled back and forth, and the sled is this guy here. And there's yet another motor here. I forgot about this. So the neat thing about mini discs is when you're recording, it actually locks the door. So even if you press this button to open it, it will refuse to open, and that's what the job of this little brushed motor is. It's a little DC brushed motor. There's a cog here, and then a little ratchet system here. And basically there's a pinion system and an arm that actually locks. It physically pushes against, the top door and refuses to let it go. And once it's done writing, it'll pull it back in to allow you to open the device. Yeah, so that's really all that there is inside the mini disc player. Sorry about the lighting. Let me get a flashlight. So maybe this can give you guys a better view of the internals. It's absolutely beautiful, the miniaturization. There's really not much on the board. There's around, yeah, I can't point and hold a flashlight at the same time. Come on. So around here is all the power supply related stuff. Yeah, that's as good as it's going to get. There's the ribbon connector for the laser head assembly right here. If I swing this back around, this ribbon cable here is for the front LCD and buttons. Other than that, there's really not much. There's a giant IC here. Here. This guy, that's the main IC. What looks to be probably some sort of motor driver or something like that. The audio IC, I believe, is going to be around the headphone jack, so probably this little chip here. There's some interfacing chip here, probably for like the recording or the microphone, maybe a microphone preamp, something like that. Everything's pretty logically laid out. It's very tight fitting. You can already see some silkscreen labels for some of the test points, which is pretty nice. And I can show you guys real quick. In the service manual, which you can easily find online just by searching the model number and service manual, it's usually one of the first few links. It tells you how to open it up without damaging anything. And then furthermore goes into test modes, how to get into the test modes, how to perform adjustments. But I'd be careful about doing that unless if you know what you're doing, because you can easily screw it up even worse. Different error codes. And block diagrams of the circuit, as well as PCB layouts and a full schematic. And this is just beautiful. And then finally followed up by a signal list, and it tells you the name of the signal as well as what its function is. Kind of a parts breakdown, and then a bill of materials. And this is absolutely beautiful. All manufacturers should do something like this. Yeah, and this is just the first page, some descriptions of the specifications, all that stuff. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. I'm so glad Sony have done this. It makes it so much easier repairing these things. Anyway, I'm going to put this back together, and then we'll take off the front, and I'll show you guys the front of the unit. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, got most of the screws back in, so here, let's proceed with opening up the top. So we're going to want to click the button to open it up. Actually, yeah, that would be necessary, unfortunately. We can remove 4 screws along 2 on each side. These screws are so small, they're so easy to possibly lose. I believe these are the same exact screws as those on the bottom, so they should be interchangeable. Can already feel it kind of coming apart. I'm not going to remove the actual LCD itself. I don't want to get all the dust in between and fingerprints and whatnot, so I will be leaving that portion. But I will show you what it looks like on the inside lid. And this last guy that doesn't want to come out. There we go. That's why I have a magnet on the shaft of my screwdriver, so I can get screws that are resistant to coming out to come out. So we can open this guy up here. Be careful this this bottom ribbon connector. Here, I'll hold this one-handed. Focus. So there, you can see the right head there. And that moves in unison. It's just mechanically linked to the laser assembly, which is down below in there. Yeah, you can kind of see the lens in there shining. So that will move exactly in parallel with the lens assembly, and it's positioned directly over the lens. And it just looks like a regular like magnetic head, so it looks like something on a hard drive or something like that. Just 2 wires, relatively high current flows through it to you know, actually write the magnetic bit and whatnot. So the recording times on these players is less than the play time. You can see inside there's a little leaf spring, and so when I hit the record button on the front, that's what actually actuates a little switch inside there. The LCD is here. You can see there's a little chip on board with epoxy around it. Interesting thing with these players is this cable must actually be essentially like a serial data connection. So there's a little crystal in here, and this is a controller. So the main unit will talk over serial to this main board to tell the LCD which segments to light up. Otherwise, you'd have a much wider connector with many more pins going over if it had to send all the signals itself. So this is just a more efficient way of doing it. You have two three-way switches that can go up, down, or push in on either side. And you have the buttons, which are just metal domes on the printed circuit board material. Now, interestingly enough, you can see the board is actually split kind of right down the middle, almost to the very end, so that when you disassemble this, you do so by this board is a little bit flexible, so you can actually lever it out and pull out one side, and then you just tilt it and you can pull out the other side, and that's how you remove and possibly would replace the board. Another thing to note is this is aluminum, but there's actually an integrated like metal catch inside here, and that's what this little finger for the ejection mechanism catches on to keep the unit shut. So I'm going to show you guys, let's see, this is going to be kind of difficult, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to have to close this up, just thinking how I'm going to do this. And then I'll run the unit with the lid still attached but off so that you can actually see the mechanism. So I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so here, let me autofocus. So here's the disc playing. I have the battery already inserted. You can see once I push it in, that metal flap gets caught. There's a little finger in there that actually opens the disc. And let's see if I can play this. Might be kind of difficult. Actually, might be very difficult. After all, these are not really supposed to do this. Give me a sec. Ah, I see. Give me a sec. I might get the AC adapter. Battery might be dead. Yeah, another thing to note is the AC adapter, I believe, is 3 volts, which is kind of an unusual voltage, you would assume, but that's what it requires. Okay, there you go. So you can see the head moving. You have to be very gentle with that, though. And there's a little bar and another motor, actually. And I'll show you on a blank mini disc of how it looks when it's recording. This one has data on it, so I don't want to overwrite that. So here's a blank mini disc. There's a locking tab on here, so you can actually push that to the side to make it so it can't write to it, and you pull it out for it to be writable again. So we're going to put this in as I almost lose all my screws. Okay. And we are going to very carefully push this down. This is just not my day, is it? Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a lot of safety mechanisms in here to prevent it from running. So here I'm going to hit record, and you can see the red light came on, and it actually pushes the head down so it gets closer to the disc. If I hit stop, it'll write to the TOC, the table of contents of the disc, and you can see it just pulled the head up right there. And the disc stops spinning, so you can eject it then. So yeah, that's just a quick overview of what it looks like when it's actually writing to the disc. So I'm going to get this fully back together and show you that it still works indeed, so I'll be back in a sec. Okay, just to show you guys that it still works and everything. So here's that disc that I just recorded a little bit over. Put it in, turns on, put it into record mode. It says it's in line mode right now, and it's recording onto the second track since I just recorded some junk data before. So we'll stop this, it'll do a talk update to rewrite that new tracks have been written. And I will go through and erase the disk. It will say edit once again, and then it'll pop up and it'll say blank disk. There you go. And that's how easy it is. So yeah, this is a very robust player. It feels like, you know, it'd be difficult to break unless if you actually intentionally tried to break it. Battery life is okay, but I mean, I can't really judge that since I got this used and the battery is probably towards the end of its life anyway. But beautiful player. I mean, I love this thing. It's a shame that they killed it off, but I can see why, because I mean, each disc, the sound quality is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's CD quality essentially. Even in LP2, I'm hard pressed to notice many differences. Sounds amazing. Really robust. The format's really cool. I love these little mini discs. They're so cute, you know. Anyway, so yeah, just sort of a electronics history lesson that I wanted to give you guys. And so I have a ton more of the players. I have a number of models, so I can do teardowns for each one if you guys are interested. I have some older ones, I have some newer ones. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that, I can definitely do that. I have a ton of these discs as well. I got in a lot. I managed to get a winning bid on. That was pretty good, I would say. I snipe bidded someone. Anyway, yeah, so I have a ton of these discs, and it came with another player, a Japanese player, and so I can do a teardown of those. If you guys like the video, like, comment, subscribe. If you have the same love that I do for these old technologies that you still use, I mean, I still use this guy just because it sounds so much better than like pretty much every other MP3 player that I own. I've started to really notice, like, you know, my iPods. I thought they sounded okay. I always knew that they were, you know, the compression was kind of meh, but just listening to this and then playing the same exact song, albeit compressed on an iPod, there's just no comparison. The Minidisc just sounds better to me. I mean, I'm sure you could argue that the convenience factor of the iPod, you know, trumps the Minidisc player, but if you want sound quality, then, you know, go with either a high-end FLAC MP3 player, or Minidisc is, you know, an awesome way to go as well. So yeah, definitely, if you guys like the video, like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, I've started putting eBay links, so if you guys are going to buy anything, if you use the link down below, I'll put it in the description, then you guys, it costs you absolutely nothing, and I get a small kickback. I started doing that just so I can help fund some of my purchases. Because, you know, I am a college student, so everything that I buy is out of my own pocket, and my pocket's not that deep. So yeah, not gonna beg, but, you know, if you guys want to throw a little bit my way, then I also have a Patreon that I'll post below. And, you know, thank you guys for all the support that you give me, even if it's not donations or anything like that. Any comments I receive, you guys are, you know, I see a lot of trolls on YouTube and whatnot, but I rarely receive any, you know, trolls on my channel, which I'm really proud of. That almost everyone who comments has something positive to contribute, and that's sort of what makes it worth doing all this, because, you know, it's not just for me. I like to tear down stuff, and I know that you guys like to see stuff torn down, and maybe you guys don't have these electronics and whatnot, so just me being able to show you what's inside them, how they basically work, you know, is a win-win for both of us, since I like taking stuff apart, and you guys obviously like seeing stuff taken apart. So yeah, so I guess this is enough rambling. I've probably gone on for like half an hour or more. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode of TeardownTube then. Bye.